Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. I'm Mona Duncan, your moderator, and it is a delight to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about pleasure pain, and we go ahead and put this program is our gift to you from the Glasser Institute for Choice Theory. And we expound, I have a speaker, I'm the speaker today, but whether it's me or whether it's someone else, we expound on the benefits of reality therapy, choice theory, lead management, and getting this up into talking. So, pleasure pain. And I have drawn this little picture to look at things like in bookends. One, there's a bookcase and all this is in between. And sometimes we think of words as opposites, like, pleasure is extreme on one end and pain would be extreme on another. But the thing of it is the more that we can begin to bring those into middle ground, into the golden mean, as Aristotle called it, the better that we can live life more effectively. Anyway, the biological purpose of pain is for us to survive, because we may get so lulled into whatever we're doing that if we don't have a little bit of pain to let us know when to warn us of danger, then, we can be in trouble. Pain also demands a response. I mean, it'll be becoming more and more painful until we actually notice it and do something about it. And then relief from the pain, which would, start out eventually leading to pleasure or happiness or contentment. But relief comes through honest self-evaluation as we really begin to look at the situation and how things are going and how we are responding to it. So all of us, deep down inside, we are driven to succeed. Like a moth to a flame, we're drawn toward those things that are pleasing. And so, but in the process, we are needy people, depending on how much you know about reality therapy and choice theory, that we have a lot of needs and they're all internal, and we work to get them met, and it's okay to do that. And the basic needs, just right offhand, includes the need to survive, to keep on breathing. We have a need to love and to be loved, that reciprocal, that both and, that not only being loved but also giving love. We have the need for power or for purpose, or that's kind of another word for success. We have that need to succeed. We have a need for freedom, and another need for freedom, don't tell me what to do, is to make our own choices. And we have a need for fun, and that fun definitely includes pleasure. So, choice theory psychology states that these needs are internal and that they literally drive our behavior. And we attempt to control the world to get our needs met, control the world in general, but to control others in particular. So there may be a little problem in being needy. One thing is that the needs are genetic, they're universal, they're general, they're overlapping, and sometimes the things we need conflict with other things that we need. And then also sometimes, because we see ourselves as so unique, it's difficult to notice that these things apply, that these needs apply to everybody in the whole entire wide world that ever has been or ever will be. Another thing is that these needs are genetically, DNAs, encoded, and it's driven behaviorally, but there's no roadmap. We learn from others. We learn from our own intuition. These internal needs, and they are internal. I mean, think of food. Think of the need to survive, the need to breathe. We have to draw in breath, but we also expel the breath. But we would not live long if we did not have meals rather frequently, rather regularly. But to get that internal hunger of that growling stomach, to get it met, we have to meet it externally. We have to grow the food, cook the food, buy the food, whatever, so that we can take it internally. So although the need is internal, we have them met to a large degree externally. And we pursue these needs unconsciously. We are rarely, except for maybe the need for hunger, we're rarely ever aware of what we are searching for until we learn to be aware. And then also the pursuit of these internal needs are often met in destructive ways. So here's a little picture of someone, me, you, in our behavior card, and we're behaving as though we're a big wheel. And so as we're going forward, but it really may be kind of an illusion, and we may be kind of being obnoxious. So here we can see as we're going forward, we're thinking that we're in effective control, that we are responsible, we have a good attitude, and we're happy, and we're pain-free, and everything's a-okay. But falling here behind us, or those back thoughts, there's the thoughts that, you know what, I'm just coping, I'm helpless, I'm hopeless. It's all these negatives that, and we may be looking at that with a big frown on the face. And so we just go in this loop. We just loop the loop again and again and again, searching for as much pleasure and success while avoiding as much pain as possible. So here's a supposition that all people, everyone, we're always seeking for identity, purpose, significance, meaning, and validation. And so right here, I have again, one end is pleasure, one end is pain. But the closer we can get into middle ground, the more we can handle most everything, the easier it is to accommodate. And so here are the basic needs. And to move closer to others, what do we do? But these are things that may be letting us know that we are going toward pain because we are moving away from, such as surviving. If we're fearful and paranoid and we isolate and we begin to hoard things, there's not enough. That loving and being loved, the more isolated we become and absent, and the way we are moving away from that loving and belonging. And the pain in wanting power and purpose and to succeed, but as we begin to dominate and we're angry and we fight and we demand, again, we are moving away from obtaining what we're really wanting. So here's a quote from Dr. Glasser that he wrote in The Identity Society. He said, "It's a circle. The more responsibly we behave, the better we feel. The better we feel, the more responsibly we behave." And there's very, very, very much truth to that. And so the more pleasure we have, the more, it just keeps going around in that circle and kind of building and learning more new things. But unfortunately, it's the same. It's the same acting. It's the same. It's just kind of the reverse of. And so here I've given this, that life operates with the same principles depending upon our self-willed dictates. We're the one that dictates whether we're going to be responsible or irresponsible, whether we are going to choose effectiveness or just que sera, sera. And so life gives us whatever it is we pursue. We are these free will agents, and whatever we choose is what comes into our life. Therefore, mimicking Dr. Glasser's, the more irresponsible we behave, the worse we feel. The worse we feel, the more irresponsibly we behave. So it just depends on which quadrant, what's the choices that we want to make. So here is a quote from Dr. Glasser, giving some insight. He said, I believe that barring grinding poverty, incurable illness, or living under tyranny, unhappiness is the only human problem. When we are unhappy, we are unsatisfied and try to do something about it, to change our own life, or more often, to change someone else's life. When we are unhappy, our life contracts. It begins to narrow in, narrow in, narrow in. And I suggest if I were to go back and look at the little thing I had previously, we would see that the more we try to change others and the life begins to contract, the more we are crunched up in that pain producing area. So the pleasure pain syndrome. The weaker we are, the less options we have. And that can be weak in a lot of ways, not only strength, but energy and integrity. The problem with pleasure or reward, or with pain, which kind of goes along with punishment, is that they give the individual a false sense of being in control. We begin to think, oh yeah, I'm in control, because we can become. Anyway, whenever we give into the negative pleasures, ooh, that's titillate. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I want more. Ooh, that's a good taste. Give me more, give me more, give me more. It leads to pain. Whereas when we look at pain in a positive perspective, when we begin to look at it, that's what we talked about in the very beginning, that this is a survival need saying, listen up, see what's wrong, something needs to be fixed. So when we have a positive position toward pain, it definitely leads to pleasure. So there are 4 responses that we as human beings kind of just automatically go for in pain. One is to hurt someone else. You've been offended, you've been wounded, you've been rejected, whatever. So then let's just hurt someone else, as though that's going to relieve anything. It's kind of like kicking the cat. Another one is to come up with some kind of a psychosomatic syndrome. It's the backache, it's the headaches, it's the things that begin, it's our body beginning to tell us that we are not listening to what the pain is trying to say, and we're just beginning to internalize it as though without giving good evaluation. Another response to pain is to placate it, to soothe it. Give me something to fix this. Let me zombie out in front of the TV, or be lost in a movie or a book, or let me have some food, or this is going to take the pain away, or leading to drugs or alcohol, anything to kind of placate it, to begin to soothe that pain, that I'm still okay. And then another is to depress. And depression is, it doesn't heal the pain. What it does is it holds it in. And in the process of holding it in, because, we have that need to love and be loved, and there are others that do love us. And so, they try to help us overcome those difficulties. But what it's really doing is we're kind of forcing, or others are being brought in to pay for our pain. So we're looking at pain, and these 2 trees are dying. And so when pain, what's the end of it? Is it going downhill? If we see that there's no purpose in pain, that there's no reason for it, that I'm completely innocent, that, what happens is that we will not challenge the pain. We won't see what can I do to overcome it? What information do I need? What happens is we become distracted and we begin to reduce. We want to medicate in order to escape the pain. Just give me something to feel better. It begins to change our mood. We begin to be, less, well, it's a mood change, it's a downer. We begin to be self-depreciating. Well, why does somebody else this, but I don't? Or, why is everything going okay with them? We begin to encase and look at shame and guilt. And then we begin to take pleasure in pain. And what I mean by that is it kind of becomes a that testimony. Well, you think she did you wrong? Just wait until I tell you what she did to me, or what he did to me, or what my boss did to me. You know, we begin to take pleasure in the pain. And let me tell you how bad I've had it. And what this does is it leads to us being addicted. It leads to us being fragmented and being divided. And pain is a bigger motivator than relief. To having that listening ear. Anyway, so here's kind of the circle of life. And you'll notice that it's not in the golden mean. It's not centered. It's down at the bottom, because when we live in the basement, the world really does kind of look down on us. It's not an intentional thing. I mean, we have to individually make positive intention not to look down on someone that is just exacerbating their own pain. Anyway, so pleasure, pain, the tree of life. So how do we overcome that? First of all, we look at the pain that we are experiencing, whatever it is, and whatever the mean was. And we begin to see that there's a purpose in pain. It really does go back up to that survival, that it's saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, something's wrong. That we begin to accept the challenge of pain. How can I overcome this? How is that? What more information do I need? We begin to overcome the failings that maybe it's eating better, maybe it's getting more rest, maybe it is relating better to family members. And in the process of all this interrelatedness, the pain begins to be less and less. We begin to gain worth. Oh, wow, you know, I can move a little better now. We begin to become more self-disciplined and do active self-evaluating. We begin to see that, yeah, I kind of like these people, and that, yeah, maybe they kind of love me, or we can get along and relate with each other. And then life becomes a little bit more fun. There's a few more smiles. And we're on the way to being whole and healthy and fulfilled and having lots of fruit on our trees. So in AA and other recovery units is to, to help. There are three ways that of helping. One is speed. That to, when we're at the bottom, we need someone to come along, or when they do come along, to actually allow them to go to a meeting of others in the process of recovery, knowing that this is a safe place and there's no reason for you to fear the others. Now, it can be, it can be all kinds of addictions. It can be all kinds of grief or whatever. But you know what? Everyone has their own individual story, and they have their own individual hurts and pains. But we're safe here. We're safe that we can express our pain, express our sorrow, and maybe there's some kind of a healing there. And the faster we can help them to be willing to not continue to hold that pain inside, or to not release it in a way that is so destructive to others. Another is through quality. Pleasure increases as two or more people evaluate each other highly, understand and see each other as having worth and value. Now, in a lot of these meetings in AA and different recovery institutions, there may be this wide spectrum and different personalities and so forth. And you may not really bond with the person as for being a forever friend. But as you can begin to see that they have worth and value, and that they can come through healthier on the other end of this sorrow, this pain, as we can begin to see each other, as we can begin to look that this is a quality world and these are quality people regardless. And then we go into depth. that it's easier to communicate, it's easier to plan, it's easier to have common goals to support each other's ideas, projects, and recovery. Not that. So at the 50th anniversary of reality therapy, Mike Fulkerson, I went to one of his presentations, and he did a role play with a rebellious teen that was forced to go to counseling. Mom made me come here. And so in the process, mom was demanding that the child be more with obeying rules, and the teen was quite defiant in wanting to stay out later and would even go out the window at night and that. Anyway, there was pain of that restricted freedom for the teenager that was forced to go to the psychologist. So Mike Fulkerson talked with her and began to realize that, you know what, she really did like her mom. She just didn't like the fact that mom wasn't giving her this much allowance, and that she wasn't able to stay out till midnight, and she couldn't go out every night with her friends. And so as he began to empathize with the teen that was so rebellious and help the teen begin to see that mom's really not that ogre that you may be presenting her to be, the teen, through going through someone really understanding and helping to relate to, the teen realized that this painful adherence to boundaries, as much as she didn't want that, yet if she could begin to gain mom's trust, maybe mom would extend her privileges. And so that's the way life is the more that we can relate with others, and they can begin to relate with us. So some of the keys to recovery, overcoming the pain or healing, is through awareness. What is this pain trying to teach me? And then not being angry over what it may tell us. And then taking personal responsibilities as to what energies do I have? How can I fix this? And then continually self-evaluating. Talking to yourself, listening to yourself, making a plan, and always, always, always getting bottom line honest. How honest am I being with me and my emotions and my thoughts? And so what is happiness? We want to go to the pleasure. Well, happiness this is according to Dr. Glasser, it has 4 elements. And of those 4 elements of happiness, 3 of them are something that you do. And one of those elements of contributing to happiness is something you do not do. And I just love this. I think it's so powerful. So happiness, which is another word for pleasure, is enjoying the life you are choosing to live. And again, regardless of where we are in those extremes, regardless of where we are making the choice, whether it's in the negative or the positive, we are making those choices. And then getting along well with the people near and dear to you, or at least reasonably well, so that you can talk things out. You know, get along, do what you can. Sometimes you may have to kind of bite your tongue to not speak out and say something that would be off-putting, but do what you can to get along reasonably well with those near and dear to you. And the thing of it is there are people near and dear to us that they really are, but we may not acknowledge them, such as all family members, even the one that you may see as being the ogre. What about coworkers? They really are. They all are supportive of us in one way or another, because anyway. So the third part of what happiness is, the third part of the doing, enjoying, getting, and doing something with your life you believe is worthwhile. But here's the thing, is that sometimes in doing something with our life that we believe is worthwhile, again, back to that pleasure pain, it can go more to pain than it does for well-being, as in working with prisoners for years and all those with robbing, raping, maiming, pillaging, addictions, criminals, felonies. You know, they was doing something, they were robbing, they were doing it that they thought was worthwhile, but it was impinging, it was treading upon happiness rule number 4, which is not doing anything to deprive another of a chance for happiness. Don't do anything to deprive someone else from being happy. And so what? Robbing, taking their Social Security check, is that keeping them from being happy? Selling them drugs, robbing, raping, maiming, is that harming someone else? Is that doing something that deprives another for that chance of happiness? Yes. And so Dr. Glasser says that whenever we begin to harm others, and if we harm others, it's reciprocity. It comes back and harms us. It may not be exactly, but it will be in the amount of pain that it comes. Anyway, whenever we are in that not doing anything to deprive, when we are doing things that deprive others from happiness, because we never give up on pleasure. Never, never, never. We always want something titillating, something exotic. And so that leads to addictions, it leads to violence, it leads to unloving sex, it leads to using people, and it leads to mental illness. So to overcome all that, we need a new picture album. We need to see new vistas, to kind of whet our appetite to learn and to grow, and have a paradigm shift where we can continually change our mind. But what if I didn't think those thoughts? Well, what if I didn't do that? What if I? And then living more from the imagination than from the memory. Dreaming dreams and believing it, and knowing that when you truly believe it, and it's in that growth area, then you will see it come to pass. And, kind of becoming that little engine that could. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And so as we close up here, just a little poem that I've written, kind of just a couple of thoughts. That thank you for being here. And whenever I stop the airways, then we will communicate and chat with each other. But just wishing a progressive blessing to everyone. May you awaken each day with excitement of a new day. May you revel in challenges and humbly triumph. May you embrace change as the life-giving force that it is. May you experience restful sleep and pleasant dreams. And may the last thought of the day be a simple thanks. Because life is pretty good, pretty much a blessing. So thank you for being here, and many blessings.